Good evening, Woodmont. How are y'all doing? Welcome to MidWeek. We invite you to stand. I'm going to read out of Proverbs, verse 3, 5 through 6. That says this. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your path." Sometimes I just need that simple reminder to trust God in the middle of all the craziness, that I can't rely on myself, and that I need him to fully trust in so that he can step in and straighten my path. So our God is good, our God is faithful, so we sing today the call to worship, trust and obey.
When we walk with the Lord in the light of his word, what a glory he sheds on our way. While we do his good will, he abides with us still, and with all who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. But we never can prove the delights of his love until on the altar we lay. For the favor he shows, for the joy he bestows, are for them who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. Lord, I love you, please help me to trust and obey. Lord, I love you, please help me to trust and obey. Then in fellowship sweet, we will sit at his feet, or we'll walk by his side in the way. What he says we will do, where he sends we will go. Never fear, only trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. Lord, I love you, please help me to trust and obey. Lord, I love you, please help me to trust and obey.
Amen. You may be seated.
Praise team, thank you so much for leading us. That song has probably been sung in this room 1,000 times. Probably not like that ever, but that's an amazing truth, isn't it? That to be happy, to flourish and thrive as God would have us to, involves trusting and obeying. And that new little chorus is like, it reminds me of the centurion, right, who says, "Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief." You know, it's like, "Lord, I love you, I do love you. Please help me to trust and obey." Even that trust and obeying itself is a gift of God's grace. And that we are able to trust in him is a gift that God gives to us. It's not something that we have to engender in our own lives. I think we make it about ourselves so often. So what a beautiful truth that we can pray to the Lord, "Lord, I do love you. Please help me to trust you more and to obey you more, because I believe that is the way to not only my flourishing, but to the world's flourishing as well. So thanks for joining us tonight. This is a good crowd. We decided we weren't going to have people come on Wednesday nights, and then people started showing up. So we said, we're here, might as well do it. Last week's service, I don't want to intimidate our panelists. I'm sure they've had a lot more intimidated. I'm the one who's intimidated. We have 5 very accomplished attorneys here tonight, so I'm nervous. But last week's architect panel, or maybe it was the music, or maybe my 10 minutes of preaching was so good. But we had 1,000 views on Facebook already for last week's service. So I think Sunday morning service has like 300 views, which is great, but 1,000 for Wednesday night. So thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this, you will be blessed, I'm sure, tonight, not because of anything brilliant that I say or even the brilliant things our panelists say, but because our God is good and because he's shown us what is good and the way that we should walk in. And you're going to hear from some real people who have real world experience tonight. And I know these people well, and I respect them so highly, and I just can't wait to hear from their hearts. Thank you again to Logan and his dad, Steve, and to Jeff Hammer last week, who shared that they're following the Lord's call in their lives as architects, and how God is the original architect. That was such a good line. And to see how they're using their gifts and their passions to advance the kingdom, creating spaces for families to thrive in, for healing environments, as Logan said, and for churches as well, because facilities facilitate. And that's a tough act to follow, attorneys, but I'm sure y'all are up for it. I was thinking about attorneys and some of the work that y'all do, and this was in my quiet time reading for Monday of this week. I thought I'd share this tonight. Amos chapter 5, it's been quoted often. As Christians, we kind of upset people on the political spectrums, both on the right and the left, because we say things like families matter and marriage is important. And then we say things like justice is important as well. And different sides have claimed these things. And as Christians, we say we're trying to be faithful to what the Bible says. And Amos chapter 5 talks about justice. This is an Old Testament prophecy coming to God's people who had, as Isaiah has said as well, have been living this kind of double life, this kind of double standard, pretending that they are following God, but not evidencing it with their lives. God says to them in Amos chapter 5, verse 21, I despise your feast, and I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer me your burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. And the peace offerings of your fattened animals, I will not look upon them. Take away from me the noise of your songs, the melody of your harps, I will not listen. But let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Justice is what we long for, to put things right, to make things as they should be. And as Christians, we have a part to play in that. So I'm excited to hear tonight about how faith and work intersect for those who are in the legal profession. As Jared said when I asked him to be a part of this, he said, sure, if there's any profession that's in need of redemption, it's the legal profession. So lots of lawyer jokes. We're not going to make those jokes. He's already asked me if he could make them. We're going to hold off on lawyer jokes tonight because these are brothers and sisters in Christ who we want to learn from tonight and who we want to hear from their life experience as well. Let's go to the Lord now in a word of prayer. This midweek service is a time for us just to reconnect. I know you're smelling your own breath as you breathe with your mask on, but it's an important time for us to take a time to pause and to recharge and to connect with the high and holy God of all creation. Let's go to him now. Lord God, we do love you. Help us to trust you and to obey you more. Help us to walk more nearly and dearly with you each day. Help us to find your ways so sweet and so rich that everything else would pale in comparison. Help us to really believe in our hearts that following you with all that we are, as costly as it may be, as painful as it may be, is the only way to be happy in Jesus by trusting and obeying. really the only way to be happy, period. We know, God, from life experience that the things that we often chase after lead to destruction and lead to ruin over time. May we chase after you more fully, with more passion, with more zeal. God, we thank you that we are learning how to integrate our faith with our work. Forgive us, God, as church leaders, for trying to raise up volunteers in the church rather than sending out missionaries outside of the church. May we correct that in some small part tonight as we talk about vocation and what it means to be called and to be set apart and to be gifted and to be passionate about what we do for a living. God, we thank you for jobs. We pray for those that don't have a job right now. I know church members right now who are out of work and who've been out of work, and we just thank you that you are the provider. Help us not to worship our work, but to understand that every good thing we have comes from you, the giver of life and love, and the Father of light, that every good and perfect gift comes from above. Lord, we pray now that you would give us discernment in our hearts on how to integrate what we do for a living with our Christian faith. We pray as you taught your disciples to pray, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Let's lift our hearts to the Lord. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be the worship leader for a second and say, if you want to sit right now because you're tired, you sit. If you want to stand, when you sing, you stand. If you want to go get some water, go get some water. If you want to come to the altar, you can do that as well. Just in this moment, whatever you need to do to commune with the Lord in this time, let's do that as we lift our hearts together to the Lord in worship.
Blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood. Not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. Christ alone. Christ alone. Cornerstone. Weak made strong in the Savior's love. Lord Just in his righteousness alone, faultless stand before the throne. Water you turned into wine, you opened the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. There's none like you. Into the darkness you shine, and out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. There's none like you. Our God. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Into the darkness you shine, and out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. There's none like you. 'Cause our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you're higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? Then what could stand against? 'Cause our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you're higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God is greater, our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you're higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? If our God is for us, then who could stand against us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? Then what could stand against? Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you're higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for all that you've done. We put our hope, our faith in you, and trust in you alone. That you are greater, you are higher than any name. God, help us fix our eyes on you today, that we can trust and obey you. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks for the good reminder, the scriptural reminder that no matter what our enemy throws our way, and there's a lot being thrown our way, that nothing can prevail against us because we, through Christ, are more than conquerors. It's a great Old Testament, New Testament, both declare that we who are God's people, because we are God's adopted, beloved children, that no weapon formed against us shall prosper, that we will prevail one way or another. It may not be the way we always think of in earthly terms, but we will prevail. Nothing can stand against us. We're talking about work and witness, and that's not really a great name. It's alliterative, and I thought it was clever, but work and witness, we're not just talking about witnessing in the workplace, right? The theology of work has so much more to do with than just being a witness at work. There's a lot more to it than that. And we're trying to unpack some of these misnomers. The church really has done a bad job, not just Woodmont, all churches have done a bad job of really preparing our members to go live out their vocation in such a way that is in a consistent manner with the scriptural mandate to make disciples of all nations. How does we spend most of our waking hours at work, most of us. And how do we use that time? How do we see our work as part of something bigger, as part of something that God is doing? And you've heard the phrase, find a job you love and what? You'll never work a day in your life, right? That's not true. Well, sometimes work is just work, right? Because we talked about Genesis 3 shows that because of sin, that we will eat by the sweat of our brow. These attorneys will tell you sometimes there's just paperwork to do. You just got to slog through it. Sometimes work is just work, and that's part of the fall. But not all work is like that. On our best days, in our best moments, we feel like we made a difference. We feel like we contributed to the kingdom. We feel like we made a difference for good against evil in the world on our best days. And that's a little glimpse of what's to come, because I believe that Scripture teaches through Revelation and through other parts that work is a part of the new creation. In the garden, before sin came, there was work, right? Adam and Eve were given a job to do to tend to the garden and to serve as God's vice regents over all creation, caring for the land and the sea too. But sin wrecked all that, and thorns came up from the ground, and now by the sweat of our brow is how we eat now. And I like eating. I don't necessarily like sweating, but that's how we have to live now because of sin. But one day, we will have work that is totally redemptive and fulfilling in the new creation. Look forward to that. We've gotten our values out of whack. Go to that Gordon Dahl quote, Will. It says most Americans worship their work at their play, and play at their worship. Gordon Dahl wrote this in the 70s. We look to our work to define us, to provide for us. We work at our play, at whatever our hobbies are. We spend more time actually working. I used to sit, Aaron, on my bed and learn all the guitar parts to all these songs, and I worked at it. It was supposed to be a hobby, but I've spent my time and my work into that. And then play at their worship. That sermon didn't do anything for me. That song didn't do anything for me. I want to be entertained when I come to church. I've never thought that. I'm sure you haven't either. So what we need is a corrective. And again, what we need to do is train our people to live out their faith at work, which has got to be more than just the symbolic gestures, right? Like, oh, I don't engage in the water cooler talk because I'm a Christian. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than our political alignments. It's got to come from deep theological convictions and foundations. We talked last week about how the habits of the heart, the secular book, talks about how our society is kind of unraveling. Our culture is kind of unraveling in Western culture because we've elevated individuals and individual choice over everything else. And this secular sociologist writes that we're moving to a greater validation of the individual person, but our ability to imagine a social fabric that holds us together is vanishing. And he tells an example of what we can do to fix it. At the end of the book, he says to make a real difference, there would have to be a reappropriation of the idea of vocation or calling, a return to a new way to the idea of work as a contribution to the good of all. and not merely as means to one's own advancement. So this guy says that one key way to keep our society from unraveling is to view our jobs as a calling, vocation, from the Latin word vocare, to call. And I love this quote from Keller. He says, "A job is a vocation only if someone else calls you to do it, and you do it for them rather than for yourself. By definition, a job is only a vocation if someone else calls you to do it, and you do it for someone other than yourself." So our work can only be a calling if it's reimagined as a mission of service, to something that's beyond ourselves, to a greater good. We believe that greater good is the kingdom of God, as God defines it and sets it up. So again, what does that look like? I listed 8 different things last week, like the way to serve God at work is by furthering justice. Kind of sounds like an attorney maybe. Or the way to serve God is by creating beauty. Or the way to serve God is just by doing a really good job. Or the way to serve God is by making lots of money so you can give it away. The way to serve God is to work with grateful joy. The way to serve God is to I heard someone tell me this, your vocation lies at the intersection of your greatest passion and the world's greatest need. That sounds great, but that's not the only answer. All of those things are good, but they don't individually answer the question of how we should serve God. If we say the main way to serve God is by witnessing to our coworkers, period, then we invalidate all the rest of them. There's got to be an and involved with how they complement one another. And why does all this matter in the first place, okay? Let me just finish up with this idea before we call our panelists up here. Everyone wants to be successful rather than forgotten. We talked a little bit with the architects about how you design a big building and it's like a monument to yourself that will outlive you. You know, there's a temptation towards arrogance there. But we want to be successful. We don't want to be forgotten. And everyone wants to make a difference, a tangible difference in this life. That's okay to want that, okay? And just hear me out. That is beyond the control, though, of any of us. We can't decide if what we're going to do is going to impact, eternity. If this life is all there is, then everything will eventually, this is Keller's quote, burn up in the death of the sun, and no one will even be around to remember anything that's ever happened. Everyone will be forgotten. Nothing we do will make any difference, and all good endeavors, even the best, will come to naught. That's a nihilistic view. Unless there's a God. If the God of the Bible exists, and there's a reality beneath and behind this one, I love that language, and if this life is not the only life, then every good endeavor, even the simplest ones, pursued in response to God's calling, can matter forever. That may sound broad, but I think it's true. This is what the Christian faith promises. Look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58. Paul's just explained to the church in Corinth about how there's a resurrection of the dead and that there's hope beyond this life. In that chapter, he says, if we have hope in this life only, we of all people are most to be pitied. But Jesus rose from the dead, inaugurating a new eternity, a new era. Therefore, my beloved brothers and sisters, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain. Yes, in the context of Paul in Corinth, he's talking to believers about their work, their mission kind of kingdom work there in Christian ministry. But ultimately, this verse can be true of all work, that our labor is not in vain. That our labor is not in vain. This is a different shift, just bear with me. Whatever you're seeking in your work, whether it's justice that you're after, or you're looking for peace, or whether you're looking for a world of brilliance and beauty, or you're trying to add to the the story of all things, or the order of creation, or healing, whatever you're looking for in your work, it is there because there is a God. There is a reality. There is a future healed world that he will bring about. And your work can, in part, show that future world to others. So your work will only partially be successful on your best days in bringing about that world, the future world of a redeemed world. But inevitably, that world will come to fruition. If you know all of this, then you won't be despondent because you can only get a little done in this life. You will work with satisfaction and joy, knowing that it is coming. You will not be puffed up by success as if this life only mattered. Neither will you be devastated by setbacks as if this life only mattered. So 3 key questions that we're going to focus on the entire series, okay? 3 key questions. First, why do you want to work? Why do you need to work? This is the first question still. Why do you need to work in order to lead a fulfilled life? Do you all agree that you need to work in order to lead a fulfilled life? I would say yes to that. Why do you want to work? Why? What's your motivation? Second question, why is it so hard to work? That is, why is it so often fruitless, pointless, and difficult? I've been in meetings, a lot of you have today too, for 4 hours today. And a lot of times I found myself thinking, what am I doing here? This is not good for me or anybody else. It's fruitless. Why is it so hard to work? You know the answer to that one is sin, right? Number 3, how can we overcome the difficulties and find satisfaction in our work through the gospel? We're going to look at these 3 key questions throughout the entire series. Why do you want to work? Why is it so hard to work? And how can we overcome the difficulties and find satisfaction in our work through the gospel of Jesus Christ? With that being said, let me call up our panelists. I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you. Come on up and have a seat in one of these red chairs. You can take your mask off if you feel comfortable doing so, if you're far enough apart from your neighbors. If you want to keep it on, that's fine as well. Mr. Andy got you some waters. I was not that gracious, but Andy did. There at your seat. Do I need to move this probably? Would that help? I have a few questions, but we have a neat mix tonight of elder attorneys and some younger attorneys. I'm not going to say who's who. Don't go there. I'll let you decide for yourselves who's who. But if y'all would mind just introducing yourselves. We have Jared Hagler, we have Jack Robinson, we have John Tarpley, Jim Mustache Myers. I didn't see that with the mask on. That's fantastic. So just for tonight, is that, oh, that's amazing. The boots works with it too. It's a good look. And then Leslie Love as well. So Leslie, why don't you start? Just tell us who you are, kind of maybe a little bit of your background and what you do.
Sure. Hi, I'm Leslie Love. I am an attorney at HCA. I worked at a law firm for the first half of my career, and now I've been in-house at HCA for actually 8 years this week. And HCA, for those of you who don't know, is a hospital company, and so I represent a group of 15 hospitals in South Florida and do regulatory work, federal law compliance, contracting, that kind of thing for that group of hospitals.
Do they have hospitals in like Minnesota too, and you just happen to get the ones in South Florida?
Yeah, I kind of lucked out. And
nice.
Typically I try to make it to meetings down there around this time of year, so the pandemic stop on travel has been kind of a bummer for me.
Oh,
but
man, that's awesome. Yeah, fantastic. Jim?
I'm Jim Myers, originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Moved up here after law school in 2017. Been practicing for 4 years. Got a little experience in a lot of different areas, but current specialty would be residential and commercial real estate transactions and construction law.
Nice. Thanks, Jim. John Tarpley.
Yes.
No, you can go that low. That's amazing.
What do you need me to say, Nathan?
Who are you?
Who am I? Well, I'm John Tarpley. I am a lawyer in Nashville. I have been practicing law for longer than any of these people on the stage, and you could probably put 3 of them, that does not include you, Jack, 3 of their years of practice together, and it would not be total mine. I started practicing in this legal community in 1981. It hurts my feelings to tell you the number of years, but you can do the math as to what this is an anniversary year for me. I grew up in Middle Tennessee. I've been in Nashville my entire life. I feel so honored to be amidst these folks because they are truly the brains of the legal profession. I'm just kind of the eye candy. But I've been at the same firm, which is unusual. Now, Jack's been at the same firm forever, but there's not many people who have been at our firms continuously as long as we have. I came to my firm in 1989. We're a statewide firm, 115 lawyers. I have a litigation and a mediation practice, which is a little different from many of these folks here. But I kind of travel the state and sometimes around the country, and I primarily, in my litigation world, I represent commercial trucking companies. In my mediation world, I do whatever needs resolving that comes into my face.
Nice. Thanks, John. Jack Robinson, Jr.?
I've been practicing, as John said, at the same firm. I graduated from law school on a Friday, and I started work on Monday.
Nice.
And I've been to there ever since, and have thoroughly enjoyed it. In my former life, I was an accountant, tax accountant.
I didn't know that.
And decided I wanted to go to law school because if you have an accounting night, it's not going to be good. But I thought that intellectually I wanted some more. The realm of just tax accounting was not that exciting. And so I moved over to law and really have enjoyed it. I do primarily corporate and real estate matters, but of the people in my firm, I'm probably the one that does the broadest based. I do some litigation, do some tax and things, and I think that gets back to when I became a lawyer. I wanted to do something that was intellectually stimulating, not just do the same thing all the time. So I like the variety of things that keep things interesting.
Yeah. Me too. That's why I'm a pastor. I couldn't do the accounting thing either. I'm grateful there are those who can, but it's not in my wheelhouse either. I do like that about being a pastor too. Do you know what year, John Tarpley, that I was born, by the way?
Probably 1985 or something.
81.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Just so you know. Yeah, it's a great year.
Well, you're going to be 40 this year, Nathan.
That's true. It's a big year for me too. Yeah, you're right. Thanks. Jared?
Hi, Jared Hagler. Native Tennessean from Dixon, Tennessee, small town down the road. Went to college at MTSU and law school at UT, go Vols, and went to work. Always been interested in government. Grew up a big government nerd, for better or worse. Thought the most interesting thing in the world would be helping to shape tax law. If you need any more example of how big of a nerd I am, there you go. But I've been working for the state government here in Tennessee for the past 6 years. That's how long I've been in practice. And I represent state agencies essentially in litigation, pursuing claims where the state is owed a debt, whether it be by default on a contract or tort damage or civil fine or something like that.
Nice. I want to point out too, all 5 of these people are church members who have been active in leadership, have helped this church in many, many ways over the years, whether they were voluntold to do something, as John was saying earlier, or whether they jumped in with both feet. Just grateful for the way these 5 people have served this church over many, many years. Were you born into this church, Jack? Is that right?
No, I came here when I was about 6.
Okay, all right. So it's been a while that you've been here. That's a great run. So appreciate you guys being here tonight as church members. Let me just ask this for whoever wants to take it, but when did you first, Jared hinted at this, that he found government exciting. When did you first feel like you wanted to be a lawyer? When did you know that was going to happen? You mentioned, Jack, too, that you were an accountant, didn't want to do that anymore. What about Leslie or Jim? When did you realize that you wanted to go into legal profession? Or John, was there a moment in your life where you realized it was something that the Lord was leading you to, or did it just kind of fall in your lap, or did you say, this looks fun?
Yeah, mine's kind of the latter. I was in PR in my former life, so I worked out of college. in PR for a few years and kind of thought about something different. I had a friend who I worked with who said, I'm going to law school. And I thought, well, I like school. So, yeah, I mean, you got a stage full of nerds up here. But I thought, what could I do to go to school and be able to get a job afterwards? And so I tricked Logan Rogers into marrying me. And then I said, I've got a great idea. I'm going to quit my job and let's move to Knoxville where my parents are, and I'll go to law school.
He had a lucrative career at the time.
We was in the music business. It still is. And yeah, we were, young, and why not? So we picked up and embarked on that adventure together.
Awesome. Well, you, Jim, you were a building guy, right?
Yeah, my undergrad was in construction management. I had a thought about going to law school when I took, as part of our curriculum in undergrad, was construction law. So that was the only class I got an A in with little effort. So I was like, that might be a potential in the future. But the legal profession really fell in my lap when my parents offered to pay for law school. So that was a done deal.
Nice. That's a good deal. Yeah. Well, you, John, you grew up here.
Wow, mine had to be divine intervention.
Put that mic a little closer.
I'm sorry. Mine had to be divine intervention because I have an ag degree in undergraduate school. I grew up on a farm in Middle Tennessee. I was the first person of my generation. Now, bear in mind, my mother had 6 brothers and sisters. My father had 7. And of that and I'm the only singleton of that group. There's usually 3 and 4 kids in every family, and I was the only kid at that time that had ever had a college degree, much less a postgraduate degree. And I was always an achiever and a hard worker, but I was never a real student like Leslie. I was just, I just kind of slogged through it. And as one of the motivational speakers I heard, he said, some people graduate magna cum laude like Leslie, and some like Jack, summa cum laude. I graduated thank you laude.
Nice. That's about like me, honestly, in undergrad, for sure. All right, so, the legal profession, maybe more than any other profession, is smeared often. Why is that? And from y'all's perspective, people look at lawyers and you're an attorney. You get some of that, or do people respect you because you're an attorney? Or, I already had someone here tonight say, can I tell a joke about attorneys? Why is it that attorneys are often so maligned in our culture?
I think it's because an attorney is not someone that you just hire all the time. You have a reason. And there are 2 reasons or 3 reasons. One, you have a transaction that you want to get done, or you have maybe a death in the family to take care of things. But the other is because you have a dispute. You have a conflict. And if you have a conflict, you want the people who can fight for you and put your side out front the best. And so people are in those type moods. And in many type cases, they get resolved when people are tired of paying lawyers. They kind of go off to the side and say, look, we're spending too much money. Let's just work it out ourselves. And that makes people more amenable. But I think it's when the people come in, they're looking for a fight.
Interesting. So you talk about a dispute. If there's a dispute, this is interesting as a Christian, right? In a dispute, someone's right and someone's wrong, or there's some gray area, maybe both sides are half right or half wrong or something. How do you, as an attorney, you say fight for them. What if they're wrong? Do you have an obligation as an attorney to say to that side that's wrong, you're wrong, you're not going to win the dispute? Or is it your job to take their side anyway? Is there a conflict of your conscience? Has there been a time in your career where there's a dispute and someone came to you and said, I want to sue this person, or I need to hire you to fight for me, but they were wrong? Has that ever happened where someone has come to you and said, I want you to do this for me, but they weren't right in the dispute?
Well, Nathan, you're right. You're partially right. There's 2 sides to every story. And our system, our entire democracy that's being challenged right now is the fundamental basis of it is that everybody from the lowest of the low to the most high and mighty and the most significant person in our country has rights. And some people, I mean, a lot of times the questions you raise are brought up in the criminal realm. And how can someone defend a murderer? How can someone defend a child molester? How can someone defend a sexual predator? Well, everybody has rights, and that's the bedrock of our system. Now, each lawyer, I think, has to make their own call regarding what, where their margin is. I mean, I do it, and if you're not in my margin, I've got plenty of work from other people. You can go see somebody else. I mean, it's just that simple. But I don't compromise what I believe and what I hold dear to anybody.
Right. That's great.
Period.
Interesting.
You are hired to be an advocate, not to be the judge.
Interesting. That's a good point. All right, so how do you see the legal profession as playing into somehow bringing about something good, somehow advancing God's kingdom? I mean, you were getting at it as, there's this, from the top to the bottom, everybody deserves an advocate. Everybody deserves an advocate to fight for them, deserves rights to have their day in court or whatever it may be. How do you see the legal profession as bringing about good or potentially bringing about good in the world, if at all?
Yeah, we've established a system of justice in this country that is not perfect at all, and it often doesn't work for many. But we as lawyers, I think, stand kind of at the vanguard of making sure it does to the maximum extent possible. And it does provide both a method and a forum for people to pursue truth, justice, and I think a lot of us are civil attorneys here, and a principle that's important to that is equity, and for people to have an opportunity to not be unduly harmed by the actions of another, and to provide a reasonable and fair and just resolution to disputes. And that's what I find most enjoyable as being an attorney, when you have an opportunity to be involved in resolving a dispute that is fair and equitable and justifiable, and it helps to heal those disputes between the parties involved.
It's good.
One of the things I also say, Nathan, is that lawyers, in my view, have the keys to the courthouse. And not everybody has the ability. Everybody has the right to go to the courthouse, but not everybody has the ability to get in the courthouse, and not everybody has the ability to advocate for justice and for reason. I mean, we hear about all the big players in the civil rights movement, the role of Rosa Parks. Well, Rosa Parks she was the beginning of the story, but there were lawyers that were with her who helped her get into the courthouse to establish those rights. In Brown v. Board of Education, there were lawyers who were with that family who helped them get before the United States Supreme Court. And lawyers have the power and the key to take and it's not just big societal issues. I mean, it's issues that mean something to everybody. I mean, so it's the keys to the courthouse are a powerful tool.
They are. I think that's right. So power, we've seen this throughout the scriptures that, the way of Jesus was kind of a subversive way. He came as an infant in a manger. He didn't come riding a Roman war horse, to challenge the Roman authorities. His way is the way of the cross. How do you see that power? I think a lot of times attorneys get a bad rap, in my view, because they use that power. It's a responsibility, right? They use that power for self-gain or for, for their own firm rather than for the good of all. How do you see that responsibility to use that power? Does that ever come into play, that responsibility? Because with power comes responsibility. I think that was Spider-Man's uncle who said that, right? There is a responsibility that you have to wield that power. in a equitable way, in a way that brings about justice? Have you, felt that compulsion as an attorney to, the temptation maybe? They talked about the architects last week, about the temptation to build a monument to self, Is that the same thing in the legal profession with that power? Or have you not felt that as much?
Do I have to answer all?
No, you're just the one that talks the most.
I do have a response for you, though.
Oh, good, please.
I think, and I don't want to sound like the five of us are holier than everybody else, but, it really helps. It really helps when you have a North Star. And we have a North Star. I mean, I know I went through the CLC course a few years ago, and there was a verse that was Micah 6:8, and it really spoke to me. And it said that what does God require of us? And it's a very simple statement: to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. And that is my North Star, to ensure that I've got a lot of power, and God has enabled me to be conversant. Some people would say too conversant, but and persuasive.
Yeah. And
I could use those skills for ill gain.
Yeah.
But I have a North Star.
Good.
And I don't know, and that's how I deal with that situation.
Yeah.
And one thing I think that's always crucial to remember is that from an attorney's perspective, the client is placing a great deal of trust in you. Lawyers have been trained over the course of years to understand a system and a way of speaking a language that no one else does. And the client comes to you for that very reason, that they don't understand the process and the system. And we have a set of ethics in the legal profession that are supposed to govern all this. But all too often, those ethics are breached and their clients are harmed. And I think it takes something deeper than just a set of ethics written by the Supreme Court. It takes something internal that makes you want to adopt those ethics, and then something even beyond, a morality that makes you seek to help people instead of to harm them, those that have placed their trust in you, to make sure that you've done right by them and not unduly harm them in some way.
And I think I would add to that my career is a little bit different from everybody else's up here, because I work internally for a large company, as opposed to representing clients individually or clients who are companies, which I have done before. But I don't have the maybe opportunity or access to take on clients who have needs that sometimes individuals would who go to a lawyer. But I have the opportunity to use the skill set that I've gained to do things that, in my personal life or in church or otherwise, that can be valuable. And so, while I was thinking about this, getting ready for tonight, and, in my day-to-day work life, I don't see, lots of opportunities to directly minister or use what I do as a platform for showing my faith. But I think that it bleeds over into other areas of my life, the skills I have and the opportunities that I've been given.
Yeah, absolutely.
Along with what everyone else has said, it's important every day for me, at least, to remind myself that everyone I come in contact with as a professing Christian, that I'm representing Jesus. And so people at work, people that you interact with, if they know that, they're looking to see how you react in different situations.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Yeah, you were telling me about a coworker who was going through a crisis, and that you felt like you were a chaplain in that moment. You didn't use that word, but that she was coming to you for consoling and for kind of spiritual advice, and you were able to dole that out. Jack was saying most of the guys at his firm, I know Wes Turner well, and some of these guys he's worked with for a long time that are godly men and women, and he said most of my coworkers are believers. Are you in an environment in y'all's professions where you're with the state, so it's, I assume, religion, you don't have the Bible study going in the corner over there, but Are you at a point where you feel like you can openly talk about your faith, or is that something more like we're here to, just conduct business? Or are you able to, Jim's had some cool opportunities to kind of be there for folks in crisis. Are there opportunities in your workspace to be a light for others, or be hope, or be healing for others, whether they're coworkers or clients? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, I just had a situation recently that came to mind where a coworker of mine came to me and was informing me about they're making a big decision in their life, and they prefaced it like, well, I don't want to seem like I'm pushing religion, but I prayed about it. And I was like, no, that's awesome. Like, that. I think we're on the same page there. And so I think not just for government, but I think in any modern workplace, there's definitely a temptation to want to tamp down your faith, so you're broadcasting it so strongly to others. But I think just by the way you behave and the humility you can show and the attitude that you bring to your work, people pick up on it, and they know kind of where you stand on those issues. And I can't say I talk to my coworkers probably enough about it. We probably all don't, but I think there's definitely opportunity there just to show it in the way that you behave.
Yeah, professing Christian, I think, is the way Jim put it too. Once they know that you are a church member, that you attend church, then there's that kind of label and standard that they're going to look to you and hold you to differently. Well, let me ask you this. So attorneys, this white-collar profession like doctors and others, is there, as a Christian, do you feel compelled to, become a giver and a sender, someone who's able to, generate good for the world, including, financing churches and using that skill set, like Leslie said, for to advance other things outside of your firm or your company or whatever? Is that part of the equation, or is that too personal? Talk about money.
My spiritual gift is giving, and so I take pride in that I have a job and have a career, and that enables me to give to the church and
to utilize your spiritual gift
to things that I care about. And
if you had the gift of giving and didn't generate anything, that would be a problem. Good. I've seen that. And all 5 of these people, I will say too, have given me personal advice, not legal advice necessarily, to be quick to point that out. But John put me in touch with somebody who I needed to talk to about an issue, and Leslie served on committees and has given us, she wrote a plan for animals in the building. Just things like that, legal things. Jim's offered to do wills for people, and Jack's served as our church council for many, many years, long as he can remember just about. And Jared's vice chair of our deacons right now. So they are using those gifts, like Leslie was saying, not just like to utilize their spiritual gifts. So I've seen that, and I just want to commend you guys in that way too, as well.
I think we all have the gift of prolonging committee meetings by having real opinions on how the document should be worded. I think that's
it's healthy.
A big contribution.
To some extent, it's healthy.
Nathan, I feel really grateful to have a job that I like, from which I get fulfillment. But what I really get fulfillment from is what happens outside my job, and what my job has and what my skill set has equipped me to do, and has equipped me to mentor other lawyers, particularly younger lawyers, to develop younger lawyers as leaders, to be leaders in their community and for the profession, and to just sometimes not to always be a leader, but sometimes to be a follower and to and do stuff with other people. And so it's a very interesting profession, because it equips you to you have some very specific skills that equip you to help people and to help channel people through some of the most difficult problems in their lives. But it also, if you're willing, it helps you to kind of be out there and to do some other things that are really a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great.
I think one thing that is important, and it's something that Jared had mentioned on, as far as where Christianity comes in, I think it's how you treat people. That's a big thing, because they're expecting the lawyer to really get after them, but if you kind of kill them with kindness, sometimes that works. There are different ways that you can tell, if you didn't know, if somebody's an older lawyer or a younger lawyer. And one of them, really I dealt with today. It wasn't just all lawyers, but in the realm of business, a lot of times we fire off letters or send emails back and forth and all. And I said, well, has anybody ever called the lawyer on the other side?
Wow.
They said, well, no, whatever. And we worked the thing out in literally 10 minutes. And, they'd been going back for forever, but they were sending things. And I think that's a thing, and that's in all society. You text now as opposed to talk.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something that's missing, is just calling somebody up and say, hey, what about this right here?
Yeah. That's really neat. That's cool to hear both of you guys talk about, the beneficiary being the younger attorneys that you are helping to coach and to mentor. I think Jared mentioned that word humility earlier too, that you get yourself out of the way, that John even saying you don't have to be the front guy, but to kind of get behind and cheerlead from behind sometimes. That's really a gift that you guys offer in all professions, to have an older, seasoned person to come alongside us and to help us is a great asset. So I've been blessed to have I have a mentor who's well into his 80s, Bob Bird, who continues to pour into my life. So what a gift. Y'all aren't there yet, but well, thank you. Any other closing thoughts? Maybe what's the best part of your job? You mentioned, what did you say? When you were able to find a fair and equitable solution, when you're able to, use your job to benefit your life outside of the job. I think that's great. What's the best part of being an attorney for you? Or maybe being able to utilize your spiritual gift? That's fantastic. What else? Closing thought here, Jim. What's the best part?
What makes my day is anytime I do closings, the people purchasing a residence, they're smiling, they're happy, and then they say, wow, whenever we're finished, they say, wow, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you've made the process, you facilitated it for them in a way that made it easy.
One of the most fulfilling things to me at this point in life is my mediation practice, where 2 lawyers or 3 or 4 will hire me to help them march through a dispute and to come up with a resolution. And it's very almost cathartic to watch these people who have these life-altering problems when they interact with a neutral, and then the relief that they have, whether they're viewed as winning or losing, that the thing is successfully done. And it's really
resolved.
There's an old mediator in the Upper Cumberland who says that he views his role as a mediator to be, as Jesus would say, to be a peacemaker. And it's really a really cool experience to kind of be a peacemaker among these warring nations.
That's awesome. I would say that these things that are the best parts of your job, those are the things that are bringing about God's kingdom. Those are the things that are advancing shalom in the world, peace and flourishing and prosperity, all those things that bring about God's kingdom as it should be. So whether it's making a young couple's home buying experience, smoother, and Jim did that for us. He was our closing attorney when we bought our house, and he did a great job. He wore his ostrich boots and had a fancy briefcase, and it was awesome. It was just great. It was a great process. It was easy, and that was a blessing to us. And I think whenever you're able to be a blessing to others, you're fulfilling that Abrahamic call to be a conduit of God's blessing. So you all are a blessing to me. Thank you, all 5 of you, for being here tonight. Let's give them a hand, our panel. 7:30. I just appreciate so much our church and our all of our professionals. We're going to have a music industry panel next week, I believe. And then we're going to have an engineering panel, I hope, the week after that. I hope young Braden Maffitt and Brad will be a part of that as well. Looking forward to that. Why don't we sing our closing song here? You want to lead it from here, a cappella? I bet you could do it. I'm not going to do it. I thought about it. But I saw that microphone. Let's stand and sing our benediction.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above, ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. You are dismissed.